TV party tonight! TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else!
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Pearson and Blurnsball.
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Rad Legend Broadcasting premier podcast TV party tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Rattledge. And tonight, our favorite show. I don't mean that at all. It's not our favorite show, but my whole intro is our favorite show.
Speak for yourself.
I say what our
this
favorite
was a
show
wonderful
is.
program.
Their favorite show, Fastlane, brought to you by the WWE 2021 from the city of St. Petersburg at Tropicana Field. It was broadcast from the WWE Thunderdome, and it was the final pay-per-view held at Tropicana Field as they will be moving to USF's, that's the University of South Florida, Yuengling Center here in Tampa. It is the constantly moving WWE. They started out at the Amway, then the Amalie, then the Trop, now the Yuengling Center. There's nowhere else to go after this. They're going to be in a fucking park once they move out of there if they don't start doing tours again. It's the sixth event under the Fastlane chronology since 2019, and also the first event to stream on the Cock. Now, you might be thinking, ugh, he's going to do that again. I'm not the only one calling it the Cock, okay? Jim Cornette's doing it now, too, so I stand in good company. But yes, it was a simultaneous stream on Peacock as well as the now defunct WWE Network. Joining me tonight are the Podsmen. We are in full effect. All three of us are here to cheer and drink our beer. Ladies and gentlemen, first, from X-Lapsed and the Cosmic Treadmill and from Claremont to Claremont and whatever else he's got going on these days, my partner in crime on most source material live these days, Mr. Chris Sheehan. How do you do, sir?
Hey, how are you? I feel so ashamed that I did not jump on the Cock right away. I'm still a loyalist to the old WWE Network, and that's how I watch the program. So I don't get any of the joy or grief that the Cock might have brought. So I had the same old problems with the WWE Network, which still, despite being in existence for like 7 years now, is still a piece of shit. But I didn't get all those novel new Cock woes. So the pains in the Cock are something I still have to wait to experience.
Yeah, I can't wait for the 900 hours of wrestling content that's going to be on USA Network and Peacock WrestleMania week that you have to look forward to now. 2 nights of NXT, 2 nights of WrestleMania, the Hall of Fame,
And
NXT
they're doing
UK
this
Prelude.
Yeah, they're doing this like old school Nintendo games. There's no save option here. You have to start from the beginning if you want to watch one of these sumbitches, right? You can't pause. You have to you have to sit down. You have to have a jar for your bodily wastes, and you need to just not get up for something like 15 or 16 hours to get through WrestleMania, all in one go.
Yep, just piss on the floor like a dog. Just lift your leg, mark your territory. No one will bother you.
No, you can't let the dog out anyway, so you'll be in good company.
Right, you and the dog can take turns pissing on the floor. Hey, speaking of pissing on the floor, ladies and gentlemen,
Heyo.
from our Canadian office, it's Mr. Chris Bailey. How do you do, sir?
Well, I will consider being, introduced third as, being the main event, the heavyweight champion, the Hulk Hogan, and Chris Bailey, by God, must pose. But anyway, it's Podsman Radio. No, we're not here to sell jewelry. We're not here to swallow a bag of pills and talk about the Snyder Cut. Indeed, we're not. We're going to talk about professional wrestling, and we are the goddamn premier wrestling coverage on this network. You got it? Everybody understand? Good.
Woo!
And guess what, gentlemen? Get ready for this. While you guys were suffering eating the cock, Chris Bailey was home with his feet cocked up. Listen to this. And I actually could record my particular Fastlane right to my good old cable box, and then I could watch it whenever I wanted to. So I could start from the beginning. I could fast forward. I could pause. I could use bodily weight. Hell, I could watch it 3 o'clock in the morning whenever I wanted to. because the Canadian network is the land of the wine and honey. And finally, I get to brag about that, by God. Anyway, there you go. That's my rant. How about that?
Yep.
Snyder Cut was good. Eat a dick.
Did you listen to our review on it?
I did.
Okay. All right.
I don't even know what that is.
You don't want to know. It is the final step in fans, incels, and neckbeards whining on Twitter to let a man who was egregiously wronged by his studio to make the stupid movie he wanted to without interference, and so they did, and so it was. And
All I heard was that it was originally like 3 hours of dog shit, and now it was like 6 hours of even worse smelling dog shit.
Close.
No.
It was.
Oh, it is beautiful, edible.
It was 2 hours of dog shit,
Dog shit.
brought to you by the guy that gave us Age of Ultron, and then it was 4 hours of dog shit brought to you by the guy who was colorblind. Never let Zack Snyder adapt another comic property again. Just let him make his own
He
stuff.
did 300. It was great.
I mean, it had to be better than Joss Whedon, right?
Hey, he abused us. We can't talk about Joss Whedon anymore. He's
Can't talk
canceled.
about Joss Whedon, yeah.
All right, so
Cancel.
just so we can close up our discussion here of the cock. So I am not a basement-dwelling incel neckbeard. I actually left my house to go see the
He
Courier.
lives on the top floor. Just for
Well, it's Florida. There's no basements. So
that's another problem.
if you have a basement, you've got gators and swamp water. Now, I left my house to go see the Courier, and I came back between 7 and 8 o'clock.
That is.
Hey, don't worry about it. And I came back between 7 and 8 o'clock, and thinking that, surely they're just going to port the same thing that we have with the network over to Peacock, and I'll just be able to do like I've always done with WWE, because I often work till 7:30 at night on the nights there's a wrestling pay-per-view. So I just come home, and I come home a little after 8 o'clock, and by then it's on for an hour. So I just started from the beginning. And then I turn off Twitter, I throw my phone in the bathtub so that no one, spoils anything for me, and I watch the show, and then, move on from there. I come home from the Courier, we're trying to figure out dinner, and I'm like, all right, put the cock on. She was like, okay, my wife, that is.
Again?
And now she's fiddling with the Apple remote. We have an Apple TV in the living room, and she's like, I can't get this to rewind, I can't get this to pause, and I can't get this to start over. And I'm like, you're a moron. Get out of my way, vagina. And I take the remote from her, and I'm like, let me show you how a man does things. And I can't rewind it, and I can't pause it, and I can't start it over. And I said to this woman, I'm like, woman, I can pause it, I can't start it over, and I can't rewind. And she was like, I know, fuckface. We're a very strong marriage. So I caught it right at the end of Matt Riddle and Mustafa Ali, which was a match that led to an angle where Retribution broke up.
Thank God.
Bailey, since you seem to have some emotions about this, what did you think of Riddle versus Mustafa Ali?
Solid match, and buddy, you talk about a storyline that I've been waiting for Ava. The end of Retribution is at hand, gentlemen, and thank God. So anyway, Riddle wins, decisively. We have then Mustafa Ali, or just Ali, depending on what day it is. He blames his crew for not jumping in and helping him out. So anyway, he gets really, really upset, and they just walk away from him and leave him in the ring like a sobbing little baby, while Riddle goes on and does his little scooter antics.
Yeah, is the scooter thing part of his gimmick now? Does he just ride around in a scooter acting like a high retard?
Yes.
He is gone really, 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 really out of control.
Full RVD.
Like beyond RVD.
Mm-hmm.
Now think about this. Who just got inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame?
Great Khali.
Khali.
Did RVD not?
Not yet.
The rumor is RVD is going to be inducted, but it hasn't been officially announced yet.
Yeah,
Can you
and I heard like Sabu
imagine?
confirmed it, which might be like poison to the induction. It might be like, no, fuck him. We're not doing it now.
Can you imagine the antics and hilarity that will ensue on Raw when RVD meets Riddle? Oh my God!
I
We're gonna
hope
be able to
Bong.
see them through the cloud.
The only way that works for me is if Bongzilla is playing in the background.
Oh man, there will be a bongs ahead. I think with that pair.
Yeah. For Christian's sake, Bongzilla is a band that plays stoner rock, and they have a new album coming out called Wisconsin. Yeah. So think about that, right? RVD comes through a puff of marijuana smoke. Matt Riddle, marijuana, whatever we're calling him, scoots in through a puff of marijuana smoke. Everything just turns sort of green and psychedelic, and there's Bongzilla playing in the background. It would be the best thing on wrestling.
With extreme close-ups into the faces.
And for the simple fact that we're going to get down to brass tacks on this pay-per-view, I do have to call out it was a decently wrestled match. So I got to give some credit to some of the wrestling on this show, because a lot of the wrestling is about to get buried in storylines and other jibber-jabber, so including fireballs and all kinds of fun stuff. So anyway, yeah, so good wrestled match and a decent opener and an actual storyline to start the show. But it's telling that Retribution broke up on the pre-show.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't see this match. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it was on the pre-show and you did not watch the pre-show?
I did not. It did not give me the option to, because I was on the old WWE network, and they are very strange.
That is weird. Normally there's a whole separate show dedicated to the kickoff, and then the pay-per-view starts.
Maybe that's why I didn't see it then.
Yeah.
Well, guys, if you could actually stay home and wear a mask, you might be able to come to Canada and watch a decent network.
I'll go to Toronto with your Mole Man below, underground mall.
Okay, fair enough.
I've actually been to Toronto. I saw WrestleMania 18, and I got to experience your Mole Man Mall. It's a lot of fun.
He's not wrong, folks.
Let me just close off the conversation on the Peacock by saying I complained on Twitter like a fat cisgendered white male incel neckbeard. Entitled. That's right.
He is entitled.
I demanded we restore the Snyder cut, the Air cut, and that they restore the pause button and the restart
the Kevin
button.
Dunn cut, damn it!
I want the Kevin Dunn cut of Fastlane. I want it all. Give it to me.
4 hours of Retribution getting back together.
And the only point that I want to make on this, and then we really will move on, is that Peacock, NBCUniversal, WWE all acknowledge that, hey, just porting it over and giving it no functionality probably isn't good, and that eventually they will restore functionality to it, and you'll be able to do all those things. It's just going to take time. I don't know why it's going to take time. I think because NBC was like, we just paid like $5 billion for this shit. Who cares?
Yeah, you know
fuck
why it's taking
these
time?
people.
Because these idiots are there with a bunch of VCRs, putting it into their computer, going with Coliseum video uploads. That's what they're doing.
I can't rewind. Go get the Edith. Go get the Betamax.
Damn, my WrestleMania 5 tape broke right in the middle of the Owen Blue Blazer versus Mr. Perfect. Damn it.
So, yeah, they acknowledge that people were pissed. They're going to fix it eventually. I don't know if they're going to fix it in time for WrestleMania, which I will be working that night as well. So for the next couple of like Podsmen wrestling review shows, I may be a lot of like, what did you guys see? Because I missed half of this shit.
So I will ask one question where I don't have the cock and currently did not experience the cock. So are all other shows like that? So say, for example, I turned on an episode of Punky Brewster. Am I able to pause Punky Brewster?
I would
Why would you
so.
want to?
I'm just
You just let Punky flow.
Yeah, I was going to say, you take all of Punky in all at once and don't stop. I listened to this wrestling review show. They're okay, but mildly pornographic. I don't know. I played with it a little bit. I played with the cock a little when I got rid of the WWE network, and but I didn't try to pause the show and restart it again. I just sort of hey, do I have these? Yes, I do. Cool, and I moved on. I will tell you, and I think I said this to you guys in the chat. It's where the WWE is concerned. It's currently operating like DAZN, where if it's live,
What's that?
It's a boxing.
DAZN is how it's actually pronounced. DAZN. DAZN. DAZN.
It's DAZN.
I don't know how to explain it either.
It's fucking DAZN. God damn. DAZN.
We are the premier wrestling coverage on this network.
What's DAZN? Is that short for Disney? DAZN is a monthly streaming boxing site. It does other stuff too, like
They still do
darts
boxing?
every weekend for the most part.
It's canceled.
MLW is actually on DAZN, and they were going to have bare knuckle. Now they're not. I don't know why. But anyway, when DAZN broadcast, like let's say you're watching the last Canelo fight, right? If you come into it live, you have to watch it from wherever it is. I think that one will allow you to like rewind, like go back and rewind. Now that I think about it, but it won't. You can't like just start it from the beginning. You have to wait for it to be done and then be re-uploaded as a past show, and then you can watch it. Whatever. Plus, they also like do highlights. So it kind of operates the way ESPN Plus and DAZN, where it's like here a live event.
Is watching it live.
Yeah, it's like here's a live event. You have to watch it as it's going live, and you can't do anything with it. And then if you want to mess with it, you have to wait till it's over. Like I said, ESPN Plus does the same thing with like the UFC and boxing and whatnot. I couldn't tell you with the other sports because I don't watch those. All right, but I got so like with this one, Fastlane ended, and then instead of going into like whatever the next scheduled show is, like you would on the network, like how they would promote like the new Yokozuna documentary or something like that. There's none of that. It's like your show's over, and then you get like the little Peacock thing, and like that's it. Like we're done. Turn this off. Turn it off. I'm like don't yell at me, Peacock. So, match number 2. First match on the pay-per-view proper. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler with Reginald versus Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. Take 967. Okay, Sheehan, you watch SmackDown. How did Reginald end up with these two?
The sad thing is I do watch SmackDown, and I can't answer your question.
Terrific.
Reginald has jumped from being with Carmella. Is Carmella injured again? I don't know what her deal is. Does she still work here? She's just gone. Reginald was with Sasha and Bianca for like a minute, and then he was with Nia and Shayna. And then it seemed like he was going to go back with the other two, and then he wound up back with the other two. And he didn't even show up on the Go Home show. They said he was on a spa day or some shit. So I think that was just a way so they didn't have to try to explain it. But then here he was. It's a Dagwood sandwich here. I don't understand the purpose of this. I feel like it's really underwhelming, undercutting what should be a very strong match going into WrestleMania with Bianca challenging for Sasha's belt here. It's like they're adding all these weird. Like, you remember in the Attitude Era when we'd have like a really good match we were looking forward to, and then they would just add pile upon pile of shit on top of it to the point where we don't even want to see the match anymore?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. It's like I was looking forward to this match, and now it's like they threw all this hoo-ha in here with Reginald and the tag titles, and it's like we didn't need for there to be this swerve to fuel the feud. We have two athletes here who want to be named as the best. That's all we need. We don't need the silly circus shit, but here we are getting it.
Yeah, why can't Bianca Belair just like cause Sasha Banks to lose non-title matches, and Sasha Banks cause Bianca Belair to lose matches, and
or just not that at all. Just build to a fucking match.
Well,
But
Well, no, I mean,
WWE thinks that a singles match needs to be, okay, so your top two players need to all of a sudden become a tag team, win the tag team titles, or at least, come close and, cause each other dissension. It's the old Ultimate Warrior Hulk Hogan. It's most recently Karrion Kross and Finn Balor over on poor NXT, where
literally last week
Butch was murdered. If you didn't see that episode by Karrion Kross, which is sad, but yeah.
Well, I mean, they did it with like going back to the Attitude Era. They did it with like Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels. Yep. They did it with Steve Austin and Mankind. They did it with Steve Austin and The Undertaker. Here's the thing: like one time that they established Bianca Belair as the number one contender for the women's title at the Royal Rumble because she won the Royal Rumble. That was January, and WrestleMania is in April, so they have February, March. Like 2.5 more months to try, and weekly television to try to build up their feud. That's the only reason why I said, like, I think 1 month where they try to team up and be tag team champions and lose.
They have no reason to be friends, though.
I think you can do it once. I think you can do it once, right? But then when it doesn't work out, they need to try to kill each other, and then they need to spend the next month and a half building towards their match at WrestleMania, where these two women fucking hate each other. They can't get along, and it's all about that title. This is now multiple months of them trying to be a tag team. And as you said, Chris, and this is where I agree with you, and then they throw Reginald. Now it's about Reginald. It's not about Bianca Belair at all. It's about Reginald, and like, why? Why is it about him?
I don't think he's going to have a match at God, I hope he doesn't have a match at WrestleMania.
I hope I hope he becomes the women's champion. At this point, I just hope the WWE like leans into it.
They'll change his name to Regina.
It's a Canadian prep or a Canadian location.
He can identify as whatever he wants. It's 2021. Anyway, this, I don't know, it was fine. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, I think, work well together. Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks, same old shit. It was less than 10 minutes. It was fairly inoffensive. Sheen, anything else about this match?
Johnny Carson, present day as Karnak, could have told you how this was going to end.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, dead Johnny Carson could tell you how this match was going to end, and it's exactly how it ended.
Bailey, any thoughts?
Yeah, so you got to take a look at the nuts and bolts of this thing. So clearly they're following the age-old pattern like we just talked about, where, you got two high-caliber people who are facing off as Mania, becoming tag team partners. But it was almost comedic how they put it off. So if you watch the beginning of the match, you see both teams who are arguing. So Nia Jax is arguing with Baszler, and then you have, Banks and, oh my God, what's her name? Yeah, Belair, and they're two of these folks. They're all arguing with each other, and it just comes off as just trite and stupid, to be quite honest with you. But let's talk about the action in the ring. So the action was pretty decent, but I think the entire time they were trying to talk to the last row. So they were doing the over the top, I'm coming for your belt, and doing the signature thing and all this type of stuff. So they're playing to the the last row type of storyline here.
It's
and
not subtle, yeah.
Yeah, it's not subtle at all. And it came off just really, really juvenile. And I don't like Reginald as part of this act with Baylor and Nia Jax at all. It just hurts their killer team. They're supposed to be a killer team, and they were actually pulling off, these two big heavyweights, as the women's tag team champions. And I was liking that. And now they've watered it down with this comedic act. I don't know. I think the match itself will get a pass because, it's just formula. It's what you do going into Mania. There's nothing new there. But, man, I just don't – this is not the way to build your main event women's match. So let's hope that the two girls, are healthy going into Mania. And maybe that's what this is about, have them wrestle a little bit less, in tag matches and not burn them out. But didn't like it.
Yeah, the only thing this built was having Reginald and Nia Jax dance on Instagram together. That's the angle they're building here, and I got to give the show the WWE credit for conducting the next several matches around Bianca Belair still pointing at the WrestleMania sign, because I swear she's still doing it now. They put this poor girl in there, and it's like, okay, point. And I can see they're all giggling in the background. It's like, how long do you think we can have her point to this damn thing? It's been 18 minutes. She's still pointing. Oh my God!
When wrestling resembles dog training. Now point to the sign. Point to the sign, Bianca.
Here's your little piece of cheese. There you go.
You got to get a little bit more creative than that. You don't have to have someone point the sign. It's just a matter of the way you actually film it. So you can have, someone dominant standing in the ring and a WrestleMania sign behind them, and just the announcers hype it up. Get creative. You don't have to point Charlotte Flair style at that sign every single time. Get creative. How to mix it up.
Yeah.
Show WrestleMania some other way.
We talked about this in the previous podcast that the sign pointing went from a cool thing they did once to a stupid thing they have to do every year. Everyone's doing it. My son pointed to the sign.
And they think by kind of making fun of it, it's like, they made a thing out of it now that it's kind of lampshading the fact that it's over the top, but it still doesn't work because it's just so fucking annoying and lazy. It's not storytelling. It's contrived, and the whole point of it now is that it's overdone. They even make fun of it on the pre-show and stuff. You have Peter Rosenberg and that frizzy-haired guy talking about pointing to the sign, but it's that doesn't excuse the fact that it's lazy and overdone.
Speaking of lazy and overdone, all right, we've tried everything with you, Apollo Crews. What's left? What if I was Black Panther? Okay, here's a spear and two goons
and a scarf.
Yeah, So here's what happened. So for Christmas, Vince McMahon was given a Comixology subscription where he downloaded all the Black Panther comics. And all of a sudden, he thought it was a great idea to have, we need a goddamn Black Panther character in our promotion here. And that's what you get. This is Apollo Crews as, the Nigerian prince. Or maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe he's not a comic fan at all. Maybe he got taken to the cleaners by giving money to a Nigerian prince. That's why he had to sell the network to pay this guy off. I don't know. Maybe it's a knock. Just similar to his IRS gimmick.
If this was the Attitude Era, that's exactly what they'd be doing with this. They'd have him with a bank of telemarketers. That would be his big promo.
Here's my thought. The writing staff one day was hanging out in the conference room, the writing room, whatever it is, and somebody was like, "Does anyone want to work on this show?" "No, it's terrible, and I hate working here, and I want to kill myself." Okay, I get that, but what if we watch Coming to America? They're like, "Oh, the new sequel with Eddie Murphy that just dropped on Amazon Prime that was reviewed by Damn You Hollywood." Yeah, that one. They said all that, and they watched Coming to America, and Vince McMahon walked in the room, and it was like, "Who's that in the leopard print?" And they're like, "Fucking Eddie Murphy. He's 100 years old. He's a famous comedian, and this is a sequel to a famous movie." They're like, "I've never seen black people before." "No, I've never seen Eddie Murphy or Coming to America. This is fantastic. We need somebody that looks like that." They're like, "Well, Apollo Crews is currently doing nothing." "Who?" Fuck.
Sheldon?
The big guy that isn't Big E. Oh, him.
The New Day? I thought Mark Henry retired.
Your boys?
Yeah, I honestly think that's all that went into this Apollo Crews thing. They're like, we're doing nothing with them, and hey, Coming to America is the thing. Let's do that. So
it's a rehash of his old gimmick, the Wuhan Nation one.
I knew he was Wuhan Nation. I didn't know what that was, though. I just knew he was Wuhan Nation.
I think this is kind of a play on that, like a return to, because I think he had a whole embassy around him or something during that run. So I think this might be more just a revisit of a previous incarnation to see if it sticks.
Okay. Well,
I could be wrong.
Well, Apollo Crews, the Nigerian prince with his spear
and scarf.
The scarf.
Beautiful scarf.
The scarf
Beautiful
isn't nearly as racist as the stupid spear. What? Who thought that was a good idea? You're from Africa, yes. Nigerian prince, yes. Spear, what?
It's heritage. It's heritage, guys. Come on. He's reflecting his Nigerian heritage. All Nigerians go around with the scarf and spear. Don't you know?
Yes, and they don't have paved roads or the internet or cell phones or anything.
Right.
It's all
Africa.
99.9% of Africa, the parts that aren't South Africa, dirt roads. Just dirt and tigers. And
listen, this is a worldwide podcast. Our African listeners will tell us that, yes, Mark, indeed, we are exactly like Apollo Crews. We walk around in these scarves, right? which throws your theory out the window.
Only the royalty, though.
Only, the royalty, yes, that's what I meant. Only
we need the royal listeners to write in and call that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Anyway, about the match. 5 minutes, 45 seconds. Big E, who we all thought was going to get this big push now that he was broken up away from the New Day, defeated Apollo Crews in what looked like a botched ending at the end in under 6 minutes to retain the Intercontinental Championship. Chris Sheehan, what did you think of this one?
It was a decent enough match. I'm starting to feel bad for Big E because I think the ongoing narrative here, and as you alluded to, is oh man, if only he'd break away from the New Day, he'd be huge. And we're coming to find out that he's just not all that very good. He really excelled at the comedy, which I think a lot of people thought was hamstringing him. But when you try to make him a serious character, it's hard to take him seriously. Because he's still this goofy guy who dances and gyrates, but he's being, more confrontational and more stern with his promos, and the juxtaposition there just doesn't work. And then the in-ring work, I never thought that I'd say that I'd prefer him in a tag team because I always thought he'd be the standout of the New Day. But there's something missing from his performance here, from his act. He needs to be back in the New Day. If they needed to break one guy out, it should have just been Kofi, because Big E just is not bringing it here. It's to the point where Apollo, who I cared very, very little about, I was hoping he'd win because I think he could do more with the title than Big E. I think we're putting the eggs in the wrong basket here, unfortunately.
I don't understand why they gave Apollo Crews this new gimmick only to then have him
Job.
put over Big E. It's like, what was the point of that?
They protected him in this match.
Yeah, he got his heat back at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, but not only that, they did a screwball finish, which leads me to think that this, face turn or this new Big E we're seeing is not exactly what is meant to be. Like, it's leading to something else. So he took
I hope so.
his token win. Yeah. And I agree 100% with what you said, Sheehan. So the big problem with Big E's character and why it doesn't work is that we never did get that separation. We never ever got that closing chapter of the New Day. They still, hang together at pay-per-views. He's still wearing the goddamn New Day clothes. Yeah. So parts of his act are still there, and they need to, if they're shifting to a new character, they either need to take it all away and do a full reset so you can take him serious. You're not going to take a guy serious in pink and blue pastels. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. A giant black man in pink and blue pastels coming out. Why not have him throw, pancakes? Like let's finish it all off on the way, you know what I mean? And not only that, parts of his act that were over, those are the things that they actually chose to take away. So, oh, don't you dare be sour. Well, you know what? That new song that he has sucks. And I want him to say, yeah, don't you dare be. I want that don't be sour part. That's part of his act that I liked. But you're right. So I think, to be quite honest with you, we are headed to a Big E heel turn at some point. And, the fact that he took this cheap win over Apollo Crews, despite, Crews being a heel, is showing just some seeds, I think, there. But we really need to have that closing chapter with the New Day. And, this screwball finish, I think, was intentional. I don't think it was a screw-up at all. So.
Well, I know back a couple of years ago when the Shield was breaking up, everyone was like, come on, we got to do a Shield triple threat at WrestleMania. We got to do a Shield triple threat at WrestleMania. We never got that. Mm-hmm. The closest we got was the San Francisco one where Seth Rollins cashed in the Money in the Bank and made Reigns versus Brock a triple threat. But I don't know. Maybe the problem is you have Kofi and Xavier Woods on Raw, and you have Big E on SmackDown. So, booking. If the thought is, well, what if we did a triple threat between the three of them and just broke up all three of them? And you use that to push Big E as a big time heel. They're still on two different shows. It would really be hard to knit all that together. Not to mention the fact, and I was thinking about this with AEW as well, Bailey, how there's a lot of just default lazy thinking in wrestling right now, which and one of the big ones is a big trope that's going on is this isn't working, make him a heel. This isn't working, make him a heel. Yep. This isn't working, make him a heel. There are approximately between AEW and WWE 9.5 zillion heels and two faces. It's ridiculous.
Well, the faces are assholes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with the exception, unless you've turned one of your most serious acts, like the Dark Order, into like a basically a New Day type of club. You know what I mean? Like you're right. The whole face heel thing has gone way too far in the favor of the heels because everybody's a heel or at least a tweener. It's too far.
It is, and that's the thing. Like Roman Reigns is good if they're going to keep the title on him for a while, which I think they should. He's going to need more faces to wrestle, and I've been starving for Roman Reigns versus Big E, but Big E's not at that level yet, so we need to get him to that level. But they're not really doing the things you need to do to get him up to that point. And then if they're going to turn him heel, like you guys are suggesting, well, that's yet another person for Roman Reigns not to face. So maybe he can just take turns with Daniel Bryan and fucking Kevin Owens for the next 6 months, or
maybe just separate him completely from New Day. Like he needs a fresh coat of paint.
Yep.
Just a fresh coat of paint. Maybe not even turn him heel. Just a new look. Like, take away those pastels and the pink and that stupid robe. Like, he's a big mofo, man.
Well,
like,
weren't they starting to do it with him and Sheamus? Like, he beat the fuck out of Sheamus, and it was like, oh, he's taking this seriously. Like, that would have been a great time to to lean into. I am a badass, huge man.
I'm a serious competitor. Yeah.
I'm gonna beat the shit out of anyone that gets in the ring with me because I've got the power to do it. Okay, great. Now let's get you out of pastels. Don't give him a tennis skirt. Don't give him a fucking clown outfit. Just give him, You don't have to be. It doesn't have to be big black, but like what he looked like when he was Big E Langston. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. He was cool.
Yeah, give him. I liked him when he was wearing like some African colors. Like, do that again. Like, go throw him in an African colored singlet
with the chalk and the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
I love that thing.
Yeah, it was great. Like, go back to that and just like and keep it going and just start crushing dudes. Like, and I wouldn't have even minded if he crushed Apollo Crews here. If we were if we were making him look strong. The problem is, going back to what Sheehan said, I don't think they made Big E look that strong here. It looked like he fell into a victory, and so the whole thing just sort of got shit on.
Okay, this is Chris's fan booking part of the show. Okay, I'm going to break it out early because I think it's important. Yeah, here we go. Fan booking.
Oh, wait a sec. Is your fan booking brought by any particular of our ad sponsors? Huh?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
Did you do
Mark.
it for the Nookie?
No, that comes later. Shut up.
Sorry.
When I was writing
very
my notes, I made a number of grammatical errors. I will tell you that, including saying the word grammatical. Was definitely so. When I'm talking about this particular match, instead of going Big E, with the spelling error, I could have used Grammarly, and it could have fixed all my mistakes. Mark, what can you tell me more about Grammarly?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Chris Bailey, because Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. It could have helped you communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M Network. Again, that's getgrammarly, GetGrammarly.com, W2M Network, to download Grammarly for free.
All right, time for fan booking time. Ready for this? Here we go. So how to fix Big E 101. Ready for this? So what's going on over on Raw? If you're watching Raw, one of the current storylines they have is your heavyweight champion is currently shunning his own group. So he's saying, no, I want to go into WrestleMania. I want to take on Drew McIntyre by myself to prove that I'm a real man. Yes, exactly. So my concession here is, why not have Bobby Lashley go ahead and do the thing by himself? Then all of a sudden, he gets the shit beat down by his own crew. So, the Hurt Business takes him out, and by God, who does MVP replace him with as the head of the Hurt Business? But a brand new, jiggity-jacked Big E Langston. There you go. That's my fan booking. There's your fix, gentlemen. And he comes out shedding all his New Day stuff, and he even has his boys beat down the New Day. I love it. There you go.
I like how their big plan for pushing Bobby Lashley, this jacked up, fucking mean as shit, bodybuilding, super heavyweight, is to make him a face, so that we can do face versus face at WrestleMania with Bray Wyatt.
Why? He's perfect as the leader of the Hurt Business and a heel.
I fucking know.
Perfect.
Hey, we have this thing that works, Vince. Great. How can we fuck it up?
Yep. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have it. I'm just playing into the current storylines, what I'm trying to tell you. And the only way to really fix that whole deal, I love the Hurt Business. I don't want to see that go away in any way, shape, or form.
That's the frustrating thing about it, is like, this should be the time where the Hurt Business is just throwing one beating after another on Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre should be coming into WrestleMania against an army that is the Hurt Business, standing in front of Bobby Lashley, and Bobby Lashley should look invincible. And instead, everybody in WWE has to look like a fucking schmuck.
If you're having Drew go over, you want him to, go against all odds and not only beat Lashley, but, take out these pesky Hurt Business people who are trying to run interference for him. You know what I mean? It needs to be against all odds.
It is hysterical that the same company that gave us Hogan versus the Heenan family, and it was successful and made them shit tons of money, doesn't remember what they did and can't replicate it ever. Or Steve Austin versus the corporation, being a more contemporary.
Well, you got to understand the difference is that talent was over, and this set of talent is, unfortunately, in the COVID era, are not over. They're untested. We can pipe in fan noise and say somebody is super over like Drew McIntyre, but until he stands in front of those fans, we have no idea what to expect. You know what I mean? Is he going to be booed out of the house? Or is it going to be lukewarm?
I don't disagree with you, but it doesn't change the fact they can't tell a coherent story either.
You're right. You're 100%. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, movies and TV shows don't have crowd noise, but we still know who to cheer for and who to boo against.
Right. I don't
So,
watch
yes.
Law and Order and be like, "Oh, that's the rapist! Yay!" No.
Oh my!
No, I know he's the bad guy. There's lots of things cluing me in about that. Speaking of schmucks on television, Braun Strowman defeated Elias with Jackson Riker in under 4 minutes. So the whole setup to this was Bailey.
You can't do that on television.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So there's Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman in lockers. That's a joke for for people who watch. You can't do that on television. Okay, Bailey, explain in 50 words or less why Shane McMahon threw green slime on Braun Strowman on Raw.
Because it's funny and juvenile humor. Why don't you throw green slime on him? My
But
God.
why not a bucket of shit? Why not orange juice?
Because it's more visual. I don't want to steal Chris's spot. It's a moment. It's one of these things it's very visual. And, the green slime is just the ultimate Mark Radlich in humiliation.
And in fairness,
It's
Braun
not.
Strowman did say, "I don't know."
I have no idea what's going on here. You talk about killing, murdering, and covering up a career with dirt. This bronze, number one, the green shirt has to go. It drives me crazy every time I see him come to the ring with that thing. I just want to. He looks like,
Truth Commission.
my God. Yes, he is the Truth Commission. Where's Bull Buchanan? Oh my God, what's
Gotta
happening?
get Don Callis back in here.
No, he's currently killing Impact ratings.
Is he really killing him?
Yeah, they're apparently the last Impact with Kenny Omega and Don Callis, like their ratings tanked.
Wow.
Thunk it,
Imagine.
running an interpromotional angle every single week for a very long time is going to have the law of diminishing returns.
Wow. And
Yeah,
this
and
is
then-
Impact we're
and then
talking
they put
about.
the
Can you
title on the-
imagine
then they
how
put
far
the-
do you go?
And then they put the unified title. They have a choice between jacked up, awesome looking wrestler type dude and crackhead, and they're like, yeah, crackhead. Great.
Wife beater.
Yeah, fucking Rich Swan. Like,
I don't know about
look
you,
at-
but I'd love to take my wife out on the street and throw her out in the middle of the road and bitch slap her and throw her back in the car. What do you think?
Well, that goes
That's
without
what you
saying,
do.
but that's
That's how you
still,
get the superstar push.
that goes without saying. But I still don't want him as champion.
No. That's a slap at Rich Swan. We don't really beat our wives, folks, just to let you know. That's
talk-
not good.
and not talk about it publicly.
Right. You got it.
Anyway, we'll have plenty of time for me to scream and yell about Rich Swan in next month. Me and Bailey and Chris Sheehan,
I will not attend.
if he would play with us, if you would come play with us, come
think
play
I'm
with
busy
us,
that
Chris
day.
Sheehan.
I'm busy that day.
What are you doing
I'm
on
gonna
a
be standing in the corner with my hands in my pocket, looking really, really aloof, and getting 7 stars for doing so.
You really are the Orange Cassidy of the Rattler Broadcasting Network, aren't you?
Oh, you got that right. I don't even know what he does except stand there with his hands in his pocket. But
All right. Well, I have another month to try to convince you to watch Rebellion with us, so we can all laugh at it. But until then. All right. So, doing their worst impression of You Can't Do That on Television, Shane McMahon, who hasn't been on TV for a while now. I guess like they did the Raw Underground thing for a few weeks, and then he went away along with that, and then he hasn't been on television, and then he just showed back up again because we have to somehow shoehorn him into WrestleMania for no good reason. And they're going to pair him up with Braun Strowman, who, if there were competent people running this company, should have been like murdering people,
Yep.
and been a strong heavyweight either contender or champion, but instead had one halfway decent run, and I guess because of backstage shenanigans and his bad attitude or whatever the hell it was, or he's just a dumbass, he's now made to look like a schmuck every once in a while, every moment they get. And then there's Elias, who, when he was on NXT, was like bigger than most of the guys there. So he, was a big jacked up dude, and he did the silly thing with the guitar, but at least it looked kind of cool. And they brought him over to the main roster, and they were like, "You have a guitar. You're going to be a moron for the next few years. And everyone will beat you. Literally every single person on this roster will beat you. But you'll have a guitar and sing silly songs. What do you think about that? Here's lots of money to do it." And he went, "I like money." So he stepped in for Shane McMahon, who was quote-unquote injured, and Braun Strowman didn't beat him quick enough. I understand it was only 3 minutes and 50 seconds.
Yep.
But considering Elias can't beat anybody, Why didn't, and Braun Strowman is this big jacked up He-Man, why didn't this last a minute long? Why, Chris Bailey?
No, they should have absolutely just put the squash on this thing, the entire angle and everything. But if you're doing it, you think about Braun Strowman, I think he actually thinks he's in this prize spot because, the Shane McMahon match, which obviously is going to be a Mania match, is, always considered one of the, at least one of the upper echelon matches on that whole thing. I mean, Shane has fought everybody from, Kurt Angle to The Undertaker all the way down, you know what I mean, and had these big epic cage matches and you name it. And now Braun's in that spot. But I don't think there's a solitary soul who wants to actually see this. I don't know about you, but this falls on deaf ears to me. Shane, for the first time in a long time, he looks like he should not be in a ring. And I know everybody's been saying, oh, my God, why is Shane McMahon in a ring anyway? But he's balding. He looks really old. He looks redder than normal. You know how we always say that.
Yeah, I was just saying, didn't we comment on the last time he wrestled, he looked like he was turning purple?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he really does look that way the entire time now, and it's not flattering. I'm afraid this guy's going to end up dead, but he's also going to bring the career of Braun Strowman with him, which I don't know where you go with this character. They've done so much damage to the guy right now that, man, I just don't know. I don't know. I'm not looking forward to this match at Mania whatsoever, so keep your Shane McMahon.
Yeah, I think we're long past the necessity of the Shane McMahon stunt show. This isn't.
But listen, we're in an era where they're struggling for content on that show, so you kind of had to pull the Shane card. I think that's their perception anyway.
There's 900 people on that roster, and they have their own training dojo. Don't give me that. There's no reason to have Shane McMahon on the show. This isn't the Attitude Era. This isn't WrestleMania Texas a few years ago where everybody got injured. And they were like, well, fuck, we have no matches now. So we'll throw a title on
Jessica for the women's title after Charlotte went down.
Mm-hmm. We'll throw a title on Zack Ryder, and we'll have Shane McMahon fucking throw himself off a cage, and we're not in that situation. They have a pretty full roster of healthy guys. There's no reason to have Shane McMahon out there anymore. I can't take it. Sheehan, Braun Strowman's kind of squashing Elias. Go.
I'll just say that I'd take Shane McMahon boxing his shadow for 20 minutes over 5 seconds of Zack Ryder. Sucks, dick. He sucks. But I feel like I'll break out the old bingo card here. I think this is all in service of a moment. I think they figured out that there's something that Big Braun can do with Shane to make a moment, and that's what we're getting to. It's unfortunate because the road to get there sucks, and the moment itself is probably going to be kind of dull considering all the moments that Shane has been responsible for over the past when did he come back? When he came back to fight The Undertaker. Everything has been it's been a shade or a shadow of what he was able to do back in the Attitude Era because, as we mentioned here, he is aging and he looks like a walking heart attack. He looks like you could just touch him on the skin and it would burst and just blood would just come spurting out because he looks like a homunculus of sorts. And I don't know why this feud, I think you could do this feud if you need to get Shane on the card and you need to give Strowman something to do. You can make this work. The way they went about it, I don't understand it. It's like they had a little moment in the ring where Braun wanted to be number one contender or something, and Shane said, "You're not." And then we have Shane making fun of him, saying, "You're dumb, you're stupid, then dumping slime on him.
Yeah.
They have an established history here, going back to a couple years ago Survivor Series when they had a Raw vs. SmackDown thing, and I think didn't Braun murder Shane in the ring?
Basically.
Literally murder him?
Yep.
They have that they can go back to. You can have Shane say, I had to rehab my shoulder for 150 years because of what you did to me, and I'm going to take you out, and I got these goofball guitar players here to take you out. Instead, they're just Shane is the toughest guy on the planet, because of course he is, facing down a guy who is 5 times the size of him, beating him over the head with a camera, dumping slime on him, and making him look weak. This is a huge guy. The WWE just lost Big Show to the fucking circus act over there. They have another guy they can build, another giant, a guy who is a better athlete than the Big Show that they can promote as such, and they don't. He's just a clown dressed like the Truth Commission, getting slime on his face. and here he is struggling to beat the Drifter. I really don't know. And the Drifter, let's talk about him. They had him as like a bona fide babyface not too long ago. And it was working before the crowds went away. They were cheering for him. And then they make him a heel again in this like really limp sort of way where he is nothing more than a goon. He's not an effective heel. He's not even a chicken shit heel. He's just a goon. And it's not doing anybody any benefit.
What happened to Keith Lee, and why can't we get Braun Strowman versus Keith Lee at WrestleMania? Can someone explain that one to me? Yeah.
Vince McMahon decided that someone accidentally turned his TV on while Keith Lee was on television. He's like, "Who the fuck is that fat guy? Oh, get him off my screen." That was
I didn't know my TV got Impact. Is this Moose?
Nailed it.
So, do we have any insight as to? I know they pulled like Keith Lee and a bunch of other guys off TV and were like, teach all these fatties how to work. But some of the fatties returned and are currently on television. But Keith Lee's still in the witness protection program. Does anyone know why?
Because he's engaged to someone in Redemption or Revolution or whatever the fuck, Retribution.
Okay. Oh, that's really? Right. He's with what's her face with the blue hair.
Yes.
Mayim.
Wow. So yeah, speaking of that, you started this show. You put Elias in a position where he's going to get squashed by Braun Strowman. Okay, so you put that in the match. You're building a Shane McMahon feud. You started off the show with Retribution breaking up. Why not? Don't even tease. If Shane was going down, say Shane is going to have a surprise for Strowman a little bit later, despite him being injured, and then you have Shane McMahon lead the new Retribution down to the ring minus the masks.
Hell yeah!
Right? Now you got yourself a fucking angle. Now he's surrounded. Now he's got to fight, from behind, and Shane gets the upper hand on him. That's your angle. Now all of a sudden Shane McMahon got this group of heavies that are behind him. They're reborn because they're out of the mask and the stupid gimmick.
Even better,
each one.
We have Retribution saying that there's a higher power that they answer to.
Oh, it was me all along.
It was me, Strowman.
All right, let's move on. In under 13 minutes, our best pure match of the night: Seth Rollins versus Knock. Seth Rollins beat him because, of course, he did. But hey, on a show with 8 matches, it was nice to actually have one decent wrestling match. So these two, these two get the working medal of the night. They bumped. They wrestled. They moved all over the place. This was a 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome Dave Meltzer wank fest, except that it won't get that because Dave Meltzer hates the WWE. But I really liked it. I thought
cash their checks anymore.
Yeah, he's not writing. He's not part of their PR department. Mm-hmm. But in a company that doesn't emphasize wrestling, it's nice to every once in a while get a best bout machine type match, and that was it. And it made me Bailey long to see Seth Rollins versus Kenny Omega. I think those two, given like 20 minutes, would. I mean, you start with derision, and I've brought this up with other people, and they're like, but I'm telling you right now, I think half of the problem with Seth Rollins is he's not allowed to. I think he looks at Kenny Omega and be like, I wish I could do that. I wish they'd let me. And I think, and I think like if two guys, just no handcuffs, just put on the best match you think you can put on in 2021, and I think Seth Rollins and Kenny Omega would do that. I think. In terms of body shape and how they match up against each other and their ability in the ring, I think Seth Rollins versus Kenny Omega is the modern day dream match. Now, the modern day dream match was once Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair, and we all know how that turned out. So maybe maybe it goes the same way. But I honestly think right now the two best pure workers in modern contemporary mainstream wrestling are Seth Rollins and Kenny Omega, and I think that they've wrestled each other, it would be amazing, and this match kind of signaled that to me. But I don't know, they were snorting with derision. So go ahead, Sheehan, tell me why I'm wrong.
Oh, I'm just wondering if Kenny Omega will make the YouTube thumbnail face during the match.
Look, I'm not saying he's a pretty man or he makes good facials. I'm just saying they could keep up with each other.
Oh, I've never. I'm actually speaking from a point of ignorance. I've never ever watched a Kenny Omega match. So, and I don't think I'm ever going to, unless he comes to WWE, and then I kind of have to. But I've not watched a match with him in it. I've never watched a Young Bucks match either. So
okay, well, I'm not promoting the Young Bucks. Like,
I appreciate that.
I wish they would be run over by a tank. But
this was a match that I didn't even know was on the card. When I saw that they were going into the backstory for it, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I was pleasantly surprised by it, despite really not caring for Rollins all that much. I thought he really brought it here. I loved that weird heel hook back kick thing he did toward the end of the match there, where Knack bent over and Rollins jumped over him, but hooked his left heel or left toe in the crease of Shinsuke's thigh, and then did a back kick enziguri to the back of his head. Wild shit there. Like you said, it was the best pure match of the night, and one I was not expecting. And I actually bought into it. I didn't know who was going to win until the very, very end. So it was a good time.
Yeah, why can't we get more of this? Why can't we get more good best bout
We're
machine...
like freaking Oliver here with an empty bowl.
type wrestling matches. I don't need it to be all 8 matches because then it's too much. But I think, the WWE does a lot of circus stupid shit, and if they would pepper it with best bout machine matches so that it's a little bit more even, I would complain less about the WWE. The problem is the WWE is 90% hee-haw and 10% best bout machine. And I'm like, maybe those ratios are a bit off. What do you think, Bailey?
Oh, listen. So we're going to start with criticism. So, we always talk about this was a great match, and it was, it shows that the WWE can still put off a great nuts and bolts wrestling match, and you get to see it here, or at least a good giant-sized tease of it. Now, you compare what the Dave Meltzers of the world considers a 5-star match, or heaven forbid a 7-star match, which doesn't even exist. Kenny Omega versus Okada. Okay, so if you're familiar with New Japan Pro Wrestling, you get to see these two together, and their entire gimmick is that they basically run the clock, a billion kickouts, but it's the same 2 moves over and over and over. It's, it's the one-winged angel, then it's the Rainmaker, and they do these moves over and over. I could only imagine Kenny Omega taking on a Seth Rollins, who actually has a more diverse set of moves than an Okada, believe it or not. And yeah, I know people are cringing right now, me shitting on the prize name of Okada. Heaven forbid I say something at a school. Maybe my credibility's down a bowl, but man, Kenny
on
Omega
this podcast
Seth,
saying something that goes against the grain, wow, that's not something we do.
Imagine that. Well, Seth Rollins, let me tell you something. Seth Rollins versus Kenny Omega would be that 5-star match. It would be absolutely perfect because I think they have the perfect blending of styles because both men can go to the air. They can do, believe it or not, some pretty significant power moves too. I mean, some of the moves that these guys do are just fantastic. But, you really got to see it here. And Nakamura, definitely you could feel he was in his element because during this match against Rollins, I mean, you got to see that NXT Nakamura. You got to see the Tokyo Dome Nakamura. You know what I mean? He was laying stuff in stiff. The moves. He was motivated, and you could see it. And totally. I really, really like that. And that's the biggest thing about this match. But, yeah, I'm fully on board with Omega Rollins. You got a talent there in Seth Rollins who's – they just got these chains on him. They don't let him go, 100% full out of the gate. They just sort of, keep him down at a certain level. He's, he needs that room to just explode out on that screen and give, that Shawn Michaels best match on the show type of thing. And I don't think he's been given that honor as of yet.
No, because the WWE is a very controlling environment. And they want their matches done a certain way. And I feel like whoever was in charge of this match was gave them their marching orders, and then Seth Rollins just freaked out and locked the agent in a closet, and was like, "Nope, we're gonna go New Japan style." And Nakamura said, "Hi," and they went out and did it.
He actually said that. That's exactly what he said.
Hi. He said Konnichiwa. Seth Rollins like, "Hey man, best bout machine, New Japan style, Kenny Omega style. We're just gonna fuck the WWE. We're gonna do what we want. We got 13 minutes to go." Full-on best bout machine. What do you think? And Nakamura said, "Bonsai!" And they went out and they did it. So
he said, "Yes, no, okay," and they went at
it. All right, for those of you still left, the next match, Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre had a no holds barred with Sheamus. I mean, in a vacuum, it's fine. These two guys beat the shit out of each other, and watching people beat the shit out of each other in garbage matches can be fun. Here's the problem. We just did this. We did it with Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. We did this with Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley. I'm gonna go back. Actually,
We did it with Sheamus and Drew.
Yeah. Let's see. The Elimination Chamber had two cage matches. Okay, no holds barred match on that one. Let's see here. Vengeance Takeover Day, or rather the other way around. Okay. no holds barred on that one. Royal Rumble. I'm sure there was one here.
While you're looking that up, we have some breaking news from the Cock. Apparently, they're going to be editing out controversial content of past WWE events.
Yeah, they got rid of Roddy Piper versus Bret Hart because Roddy Piper painted half his face. Oh, Bad News Brown, that's what it was.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been Bret Hart. But they're editing some stuff out. I wonder, what are our thoughts on that? Any thoughts?
Well, here's what I'll tell you, Christian. I own the actual pay-per-view rips, so you can suck a dick, Peacock. How about that?
You can suck a peacock, Peacock.
Well, how about that shit? I
Okay,
hate that.
But this is something I think a lot of us were worried about when they made this big sale. It's like they lose some control, and I mean some of the stuff shouldn't. Some of the stuff is very, very problematic, and I hate the fact that I use the word problematic, but it is what it is. But I don't know that I like it being excised the way it is here. It seems like I don't know. We're changing the past, and that's weird.
Here's what I'll tell you. I've had this conversation about multiple things. Pepe Le Pew, Lola Bunny, Dr. Zeus books. Every week there's a new story about something.
Dr. Zeus.
These are multinational billion-dollar stock-producing companies.
Yep.
And they can't afford some snowflake on Twitter deciding today's the day they're going to go after NBCUniversal because of some shit they didn't do that they have no control over. So, yes, they're going to look through their content to make sure...
Hospital food for everybody.
Yeah, they're going to make sure that there's nothing on there that the Twitter snowflakes can get all bent out of shape about, except that there's no stopping these people. They'll find something when they've decided you've offended them in some way.
You know what they're going to get? They're going to get the Canadian version of Raw, which we didn't see any of that stuff. No Godfather, no crucifixions, nothing. It was perfectly clean and sanitized. That's what you get, the Canadian good boy version.
So
It's going to be great getting documentaries of like the Monday Night Wars in the past, and it's like WCW ran unopposed for 4 years and still lost.
Yeah, we didn't even know Vince McMahon versus Steve Austin actually happened. We had no idea.
And here's an early segment from the Monday Night Wars where things started to change. Oh, I'm gonna choppy your vegetable. It's
It's just going to jump right to the simulcast. It's like it just changed one day.
So in 50 words or less, Sheehan, to answer your question, and then we move on with this because I went back and it feels like there's a no holds barred every pay-per-view every week, but nothing listed as no holds barred that I could tell. So who knows?
Well, there was a Drew Sheamus one on Raw not too long ago, like just 2 weeks before this, which is kind of why it's so weird that we're getting this again on pay-per-view. But I guess they had to give Drew something to do.
Yeah, but just to clean up that particular thing, I'm of two minds. One, I'm all for companies doing what they do so that they don't get bad press. I don't think it's totally avoidable, but they don't have to lean into it either. They're like, hey, there's some problematic stuff that we just bought for $5 billion from this stupid wrestling company. Yeah. Okay, just get rid of it. Get rid of it and do it quietly.
Put up your disclaimer, man. You don't have to keep cutting and cutting and cutting. Your disclaimer covers your ass. Yeah, we got,
These don't represent our values or whatever.
Yes.
Right, and I would be fine with that, too. I'm okay with it either way, to be perfectly honest with you. On the other hand, I personally don't find a lot of that stuff offensive, but look at the kind of shit I say on this show. So, I'm not representative of the world at all.
So what match does WrestleMania 20 end with on the Peacock?
Didn't they just delete Benoit from the match
took
entirely?
His name out of it. They just took his name
I thought they deleted his body in CGI to Twinkie or some shit.
They changed it to Bob Holly. They CGI'd Bob Holly in.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like,
He's won a title.
isn't that Andy Serkis as Gollum who's wrestling in that match?
I love it.
I don't know who this Benoit guy you're talking about is.
Who's Benoit?
Yeah.
Chris Benoit, yes. All right, moving on.
Canada.
So Drew McIntyre defeated Sheamus on his way to, getting back his title in just under 20 minutes. That's all I was getting at. It was kind of a roundabout way to get there because I had to do this detour. But yeah, they beat the shit out of each other, but they always beat the shit out of each other, and everyone's always beating the shit out of each other, and I'm just kind of sick of it. So, okay, yeah, great. It's another match where they're hitting each other in the head with the stairs and chairs and throwing each other into the Thunderdome, which they just did this on another match. They did it with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns, where they threw each other into the Thunderdome. So it's like, all right, as Les Claypool of Primus once said about weekends don't quite mean so much when you're unemployed, except that you get to hang out with your working friends. No holds barred matches don't mean as much when you do them weekly. Chris Bailey.
Yeah, listen, I'm not the biggest Drew McIntyre fan. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, if anyone who listens to this know that I bury Drew at every chance. I mean, listen, he's never ever been given a fair shake. When he won the title, it was the COVID era. He's never ever been given that main event stage to have a fan reaction or anything. And they set up this big angle with Sheamus here, where all of a sudden, they were best friends growing up, and they have the footage to prove it. They've got them, the forlorn pictures over in their home country, and the, pictures of them growing up through the Indies and all, growing up together through the Indies and all that type of stuff. So they had the material to build it, but this was the big angle. So they had this big match. The boys beat the piss out of each other. McIntyre wins. And then the very next night on Raw, just to fast forward, Drew McIntyre saves Sheamus from a beatdown. So what was the point? There's no point. We've seen it a million times. We've seen this storyline pitch a million times. Mix it up a little bit. Let's get a little bit of variety here, WWE. Let's not keep going back to the same storyline well. And I think this just exemplifies that. I mean, it's the same old, nothing new. And poor Drew, once again, is victim to this again, sadly. He doesn't get a step up. But you know what? I will say I did enjoy the match. It was, if I just had to sit down and just go, hey, was this a half-decent match? Yeah, it was a well-fought, stiff match, but just same old. That's all. Yeah. That's my criticism.
In a vacuum, it's entertaining. It's just,
It is. It was.
I can't help but remember that we get one of these weekly, monthly, all the time.
Yeah, it's too much now. It is.
Yeah. Sheehan.
This was a good reminder that we are on the last stop on the road to WrestleMania. Did we hear that at all during this program? I don't remember.
Once or twice.
But once or twice, maybe. But I agree with everything Bailey said here. I really enjoyed this match just for the spectacle of it, if, depending on what we consider a spectacle in the COVID era. It was just something to keep Drew busy, make him look moderately strong going into the Lashley match. They really didn't play up a whole lot of the Lashley match in this. Like, he didn't go for a full Nelson like he has been doing on Raw to kind of poke the bear. He didn't do that here. He delivered a really, really weak looking Claymore, and I'm a mark for the Claymore. I like when he hits it here, but this one was not very strong. And I think out of the three of us, I'm probably the biggest Drew fan by default. So I don't know that this didn't make him look quite as strong as I think it could have or perhaps should have. But for just a clubbering slobber knocker sort of a match, this was as good as any. So I was okay with it.
I feel like Drew McIntyre is now what Christian Cage was 20 years ago, where it's like Christian looks around at the roster and like, why I'm just as good, if not better than most of you guys. Why can't I be the main event? And it's like, well, you're just not clicking with people. You don't really have the best look. It doesn't matter that you're a good worker. Who gives a shit? If you don't, a star has more than just the ability to do moves and a decent body shape. And while Drew McIntyre, I think, because he's big, which works in his favor, has a pretty good look, there's something else about him. I feel like, it's funny, we started off the show joking about Zack Snyder's Justice League, and my comment about that was, it gets people like it more. People say they like it more than I think they really do because they're just cheering Jack Snyder at this point, who's become like a cause. You know, people are getting behind him, for whatever their own psychological reasons are. And I feel like that's what happened with Drew McIntyre. It was like, well, you're not really all that good, but because of some shit that happened to you and some, and how things went for you in the wrestling industry, we're all cheering you, Drew McIntyre, except you don't really deserve it. Like, independent of your history, just based on what you're currently doing in your presentation and your current abilities, you're not as good as this company or the snowflakes seem to think you are. That's really my biggest problem with Drew McIntyre. It's like, man, if we were just treating people according to their ability and their ability to get over and connect with the fans, he would not be the top guy in this company. He just wouldn't be.
Definitely not.
He was on his way there though with the lead up to the last year's Royal Rumble though. I mean, he got that countdown thing over, which I thought was stupid as hell when he started it.
Oh,
But he got it over. People were chanting, doing the countdown with him before he hit the Claymore, and people popped huge when he knocked Lesnar out of the Rumble. It's just a lot of it is that he's a victim of circumstance here.
Let me stop you there. Do you
Sure.
think people were reacting to Drew or they were reacting to Brock? And here's my here's my argument there. I think people are over Brock Lesnar and the part-time guys and the WWE always sort of easy, lazy defaulting to, well, he's a star. We'll just do everything for the star, and we'll shit on the guys that are here working day in and day out. And when a guy who was perceived, at least by the fans, to be the good worker and the company man, kicked out the broody, bratty part-time star, people were like, "Yay, finally!" and not so much, "Yay, Drew McIntyre."
it's true.
I still think that had we had a normal year last year, I think Drew would be in a much better position. I think, and we all do. We are all tired of Brock Lesnar until he becomes #all elite, and then we're going to decide that he is fucking fantastic and has never ever phoned in a match. He is just the guy who told Vince to go fuck himself, and oh boy, he's ours now. But no, I think Drew was actually starting to get over. I don't know if if the push was comparable to the level that he was getting over, but I appreciate it. I mean, what do we talk about during the Royal Rumble so many times is that, okay, well, we know it's going to be this guy who wins. It's always, we always can telegraph the winner most times. And with Drew, they kind of went around our expectations there. I don't think any of us called Drew winning that. And the fact that he won it was refreshing in a way, because it's like, holy shit, we have a new guy here. We weren't expecting to have this guy. And, I mean, it's something we've been begging this company to do for decades now. When they finally do it, COVID hits, and now we're retroactively shitting on it. So it's a really hard position to really represent, as we don't have a metric for it. And I don't know. I'm not trying to be a pro Drew guy here to the nth degree, but a lot of it's victim of circumstance, and I think he would have maybe not necessarily exceeded expectations, but I think he would have grown into the position that he was given. He just didn't get the opportunity to do so.
I'll say this: I think you have a valid point in. He had made a connection with the fans. The connection was strong, and whether or not, from my vantage point, it was deserved is really not relevant. It was there. It was present. That is 100% true. And then it wasn't. It went away because of COVID. And I don't think any of us realized until months later how much of that connection with the fans played into his ability to be a star on television. Because when you took it away from him, his star seemed so much dimmer. And it never really.
But that's everybody. That's everybody, though.
Oh, there are some guys that can wrestle in a warehouse and it's fine, and you just like watching them wrestle. Drew's just not one of those guys.
But it's still a step down. It's still a level down.
Absolutely, it is. It is a level down.
All right. So this next match is kind of like one of those porn parodies, where you take a parody of like Superman and Zod, but you change Zod to a girl so they can fuck on screen. That's kind of what happened here. Where instead of the Fiend, you have Alexa Bliss playing the part of the Fiend. Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton had what they're calling an intergender match. This was awesome. This was one person had wizard powers and the other person didn't, and which is fine. People have heard this before, have heard me talk about, like, I don't mind over the top stupidity in wrestling, but my problem with Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton in the 5 minutes they got to do this, which it seemed longer. I thought this was going to be hysterical. I thought this was going to be worth me and my wife making fun of talking about, so I recorded us talking about it, and that amounted to about 10 minutes, but I guess that includes entrances. And they may not have rung the bell right away, so I guess that's why my recording is 10 minutes, but the time that the wiki says is 4:45. Doesn't matter. In any case, I really expected this to be much more over the top than it was. And that's what I wanted from it. I said on Twitter and a bunch of chats, what I wanted was a combination of The Sorcerer's Apprentice and Merlin versus Mad Madam Mim from The Sword and the Stone. I wanted Alexa Bliss to like do all kinds of magical powers and cast spells and turn Randy Orton into a newt. I wanted it to be partially animated. I wanted the WWE to be like, all right, we know this isn't wrestling. This is one segment we're going to do where, she's going to channel Papa Shango and be all kind of silly and stupid. And I was there for it. Like, we were ready to be entertained with nonsense. And here's where the WWE is so frustrating for me, because it's like it's like the difference between cable television, like prestige cable television like HBO or Showtime, and network television, but like UPN, something like not even like prestige network television like NBC or ABC. It's like one of the off-brand ones.
Sci-fi original programming.
Yeah, where the budget's not all, the budget's not great. It's like Sharknado. It's like, it's going to be silly with bad acting, and the budget's not going to be great. It's going to look cheesy on TV, but that's kind of the fun of it. Like, unfortunately, that's the level the WWE shoots for. They're like, you could go for like super silly prestige format, wide release motion picture look and have it be really over the top and entertaining. Let's just settle for sci-fi original movie. Okay. And that's what it was. You knew they weren't going to wrestle. I'm not disappointed they didn't like have a fucking, Lou Thez fucking match here. I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Lou Thez wishes.
Yeah, right. I wanted more. That's it. That's really all I have to say about this. It was half pregnant. They didn't fully lean into the silliness of it, and it was not as entertaining as I wanted to be. And then I had to delete my who puts out 900 shows a week, deleted a show that I had recorded because it wasn't worth talking about. Sheehan.
Oh.
This one felt very truncated. I agree with you with everything there. I wanted more from this. I liked what we got. I felt bad for poor Randy accidentally spitting out his black blood capsule when he went to pose. It's like you saw like thump, and then he tried to like hawk up as much as he could to make a little bit of it come out so he could like go and dab it off with the towel, but it wasn't the same. I liked the hokey shit that they did. I liked Alexa looking up to the lights and looking down and then having the lights crash down. But like just when it felt like it was going to get heated, the Fiend comes up, and it felt like, I don't know if maybe this had to do with them being on Peacock now. Maybe they have like a time constraint where they didn't have it on the network, so they had to worry about going over. But it felt like a 15, 20-minute segment that was crammed into, what was it, 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Yeah, it feels like they really, really truncated a huge portion of this match to build to the Mania match. And I was hoping, like you, for more cartooniness, for more just silliness, because I think this is probably the best use of Randy Orton right now. Because it's crazy and silly, but I'd rather him here than in a title match again. So
right.
I'm okay with that. I do hope that this is, and I don't know how they'd be able to pull it off with actual fans in the arena for WrestleMania, but I was hoping when this feud started that this was going to lead to another Firefly Funhouse match like he had with like the Fiend had with Cena last year, just with Orton, because I feel like there's a lot of shit they can plow into that where they could show Orton in his Marine outfit.
I was like shitting in a gym bag.
Yeah, they could allude to that kind of stuff. I mean, they did stuff with Cena last year that I didn't think they'd do, showing him as kind of like being a controlling menace over the company. They could do stuff like that with the Fiend and Randy, and watching the Randy and Stone Cold podcast thing, it shows you that Randy he's owned up to all of his misbehavior before, and I don't think he'd be against poking a little fun at it. So I think it could be really fun if they were to do that. I just don't think they can do that with fans in the arena because that's something that kind of needs to be a closed set. The new Fiend getup, it's okay.
Somebody referred to it as melted crayon, which I thought was pretty accurate.
Yeah, he's not the fat juggalo anymore. Now he's a fat candle, I guess. But it's
come here, Luminia.
But it was okay. I don't know that it. I mean, we haven't seen the Fiend since December, right? Before Christmas.
Yes, because
we were joking about the Yule log.
Yeah, he was my Yule log Christmas Eve until I was yelled at and told to turn it off.
There you go. So I mean, a quarter of a year build to have him come out as a melted crayon. I mean, it is what it is. I think I was hoping for a little bit more, but I was hoping for a little bit more from this entire segment. So I guess it fit the mold.
Yep. I wish WWE would stop settling for like hee-haw, just like 1950s level sitcom humor, and and decide if we're going to do something, go crazy with it. Like, the handcuffs are off, the rules are out the window. You can do anything you want. Okay, then, wow. I think in general, this is my big criticism of WWE, but this match is emblematic of it. Why won't you wow me? Why won't you be the WWE of 20 years ago, 30 years ago, where there were things you did that knocked me out of my seat and made me forget that I was watching stupidity?
Yep.
Because Mark, we're not paying $70 for a pay-per-view right now, so you're only going to get your subscription worth. So I mean, some people are paying like $2.50 this month for Peacock, so you're getting $2.50 worth of payment. This is not the same stakes at hand. You know what I mean? This is not a knock at WWE. You had to deliver a knockout punch when you were asking people to pay $59.99 for WrestleMania. You had to. You know what I mean? The expectation was there. We are now in an era where we're used to paying $9.99 for the network, $12.99 in Canada.
Which is why you go from Michael Bay Explosion Fest to sci-fi original movie.
That's exactly and that's where we are. And when I'm looking at this particular piece, I was a fan of the Papa Shango Ultimate Warrior deal where we saw this, back in the 90s. So this was almost a little bit of comfort food. And like you say, it's stupid, it's silly, partially embarrassing if you got non-wrestling fans walking past the screne. But I'm kind of intrigued by it, honally. And
who's that little porn actress sitting on that guy's dick? Oh, that would be Alexa Bliss.
Yes, that's what it looks like. It looks really odd. But overall, I was entertained. You know what I mean? We did get to see. Now, my question is, this guy looks different. Is it actually the Fiend?
I would assume so. I don't know who else it would be.
I don't know. There's a theory going around about Bo Dallas, and we're going to have a Fiend, Fiend versus Fiend feud. Could this be what's going on? Is this the possession of Alexa Bliss? Is this, are we overthinking this and giving him more credit than we're worth? I don't know. But he did seem a lot slimmer, so, maybe he burned the fat off him. I don't know. But for what it is, I understand the criticisms of this, that it was an outrage and bullshit, and this is not what I want to see on my screen. But listen, this is tailored to a younger audience, and I'm telling you, if I was a younger Chris Bailey sitting down on my couch and I'm 10 years old, I'm loving this, absolutely loving it. Mm-hmm. This is Days of Our Lives, Marlena Possession all over again, and it's hot money if you're a child, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. Here's the thing. I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it. I'm not Jim Cornette going, this is an embarrassment that I'll never watch Randy Orton again or any of the shit that he said. I'm saying they didn't go far enough. So that's the problem. All right.
By the way, I've got 8 minutes of time left, by the way, guys.
All right. Well, second best match of the night by far. Roman Reigns defeated Daniel Bryan after Old Man Edge went nuts. So for Chris Bailey's sake, I'll just say this was great. They told a great story here. And the only reason Daniel Bryan is now inserted into the match between old man Edge and Roman Reigns is to take pins for one of those guys so that they don't have to take a pin. Bailey, go ahead.
I really love this match. I got to tell you, it's outside of the ending. I don't like the fact that now all of a sudden we're going to be shoehorned into a triple threat at Mania. However, I dug Daniel Bryan. I like his whole vibe that he's doing. I like the, this is my last shot type of Bryan. And this was a well-wrestled match with a fairly decent, consistent storyline. So I can't shit on it very much. I think Roman Reigns is doing his part. He has it a little bit worn down. It is. However, when you got Daniel Bryan just over-excelling, I mean, this guy is still at the peak of his career. Let's face it. He's still wrestling fantastic matches, and I think he brings the best out of Roman Reigns, and this is the match we wanted years ago. We wanted to say fuck you to Vince McMahon and have Daniel Bryan pin Roman Reigns and say, yeah, I'm the guy. I'm hand-picked by the audience. And I really like this storyline, and I do want to see more, and I'm going to commit internet suicide here by saying, yeah, I'd like to see that triple threat. 100%.
Yeah, no, I'm not excited for WrestleMania in any way, shape, or form, but I'll tell you, now that Daniel Bryan's inserted into Roman Reigns versus Old Man Edge, I am at least interested in that match.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's sad that he's going to get pinned, probably by Roman Reigns, but still. Can't have everything, right, Sheehan?
That's true. That's true. This was a wonderful, wonderful match here. I bought in. I mean, we see a Roman Reigns match, and there's like absolutely no doubt, especially this close to Mania, there's no doubt he's going to walk out with the belt. Here, toward the end, I was buying in because they went around every one of my expectations. They gave the visual pinfalls, and then another visual pinfall, where usually you just get the one. It's like, okay, well, now we know Bryan could have won. But then Reigns would hit something, go for a pin, and get a kick out. So I'm like, holy shit, they might actually do this here. And it was really, really well done. I hated the ending. Is Edge a tweener now? Like, why did...
I don't think that's fair.
Come on.
He got hit by somebody who lost his shit and hit them both.
Oh, come on. Edge is he's a 400-year veteran. And he's going to just like... Oh, there's okay. I see a guy in a submission hold here. Another guy.
Stop hitting me with chairs, you mark.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna hit them both with. Why? That does nothing.
Because he's mad.
Oh, fuck that. So dumb. And I mean, we knew it was going to end up in a schmaz with Edge getting involved since he was the ringside enforcer or whatever the hell. But come on. They could have done this so much more creatively than just going back to the old well of the here's a ref bump, here's a ref bump, here's Daniel Bryan slowly tapping Edge on the right arm with a belt with a chair. And Edge goes apeshit at the end. That was I didn't care for it. I really didn't care for it. I think there was other ways they could have made this work and organically, made the triple threat match for Mania, which definitely looking forward to that more than I was looking forward to it before. But yeah, the ending was just stupid. It felt like just boilerplate wrestling, and it could have been more.
So Bailey, what's your grade overall for Fastlane, and then do your plugs and get the fuck out of here.
You know what? If I'm picking Fastlane, I'm actually going to give it a thumbs up. So I'm thinking somewhere along the lines of a 7, believe it or not. And that's fairly high praise. And I'm just looking at consistency. I'm looking at storyline. And they pushed their storylines forward. They continued on with their plan, good or bad or whatever we want to do. So there was nothing harmful on this pay-per-view. There was 3 matches that I would say that were pretty damn good. So I'm giving this one a passing grade, believe it or not.
Plugs.
Well, you can find me over on the Twitter. You can find me at Charlton_Hero. You can also find me on the W2M network with the boys, where we are the Podsmen. And you know what? We got lots of wrestling coming up as well. Working on episode 3 of Superhero Satellite, which I've been forever, but it is definitely in production. And that's about it.
Love you, buddy. Can't wait to talk to you about Rich Swann versus Kenny Omega.
Rich Swann, I'm going to go beat the wife. Take
care.
Hey,
before you go, you and I, the next wrestling show that you and I are actually doing is next Friday. We're going to be covering MLW Never Say Never. But guess who we're going to be joined by?
Who?
Mr. Positivity, Robert Winfrey.
Yes. All right. This is great. This
Yep.
is going to be an epic. Oh, man.
If we have never agreed on anything, we both agree that the best show of this year, the best wrestling show of this year, was Tom Lawler's Filthy Island.
Oh, loved it. Absolutely loved it.
The best wrestling show by any company.
My goodness, Chris, I get to play in the Radulich and Broadcasting Big Boy Network here with Robert Winfrey. This is great.
There you go.
I've moved up a level, baby.
All right, Bailey. We'll see
All right,
you.
take
I
care,
will
guys.
talk to you next week.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Christian, you watched Fastlane. You talked about Fastlane. What did you think of Fastlane overall?
I'd probably give it a similar grade as Bailey here. It's a thumbs up show. Probably a 7.5 if we're being very, very on point. But I thought it was a pretty good show. Not the best show, but I mean, when we go into these shows, especially the ones that are kind of shoehorned into the schedule, was this one shoehorned into the schedule? I feel like this was added.
I think they didn't know when WrestleMania was going to be because they weren't sure what the pandemic situation was. They weren't sure what Raymond James Stadium
where
was
they
gonna
were
let
going to
them
be.
do.
Yeah.
So I think when they finally settled on a date, and it was like, well, fuck, we have like another
We
month
got all
to
this
go.
time.
Yeah, they're like, let's shove it up, and they don't have to worry about selling tickets to anything. So like they can do as many of these. They could do a weekly pay-per-view if they wanted to.
Can you imagine?
They could do Superstar Spectacle too.
Yes. Oh boy.
Yeah. So so like shoehorned in. I mean, what's shoehorned in the COVID era? You know what I mean?
That's true. It's true. So, in a sort of afterthought, sort of a show, it was it over delivered in that regard here. So, I really don't have a whole lot bad to say about it. Some of it was over the top, silly, and not in the Fiend Alexa Bliss sort of way, but just more like the Dagwood sandwich sort of way. But nothing we really can get too mad at, despite all the facts that we've been kind of mad the whole show. But decent enough show. Worth a watch.
Well, I'm going to steal from Whitney Seibold and William Bibiani of Critically Acclaimed Podcast.
Ooh.
They judge movies. They say movies are either below average, or above average. An average grade is a C. So they will only grade movies as a C minus, a C plus, a C or C plus. And I'm going to steal from them and use their gimmick. And I'm going to say this was average wrestling. And so I'm going to give it a C. There were 3 great matches on a card of 8 matches. There were 3 or 4 kind of meh. And then there was the Alexa Bliss, Randy Orton sketch comedy. So, I mean, so like I said, half of it was pretty entertaining and what you want from a wrestling show. And the other half of it was same old shit. There was nothing I wouldn't give it a C minus. There was nothing incompetent about it. Can't give it a C plus. There was nothing extraordinary about it, and what was good there wasn't enough of. So it's just average.
There you go. Fair enough.
All right. Speaking of just average, I said myself and Bailey and Robert Winfrey will be reviewing Never Say Never Friday, April 2nd, and then I'm running to the theater to go see Godzilla vs. Kong. And then no wrestling the following week because everything is we're gearing up for WrestleMania. So the Hall of Fame is on Peacock, and that is April 6th. TakeOver Night 1 is April 7th. TakeOver Night 2 is April 8th. Also, NXT UK Prelude is also April 8th. And for those of you who are like me who love yourself some Bloodsport 6 is that night. And it's going to be Moxley versus Josh Barnett. So I will be watching that, and no one will talk about it with me because everyone hates me. Or just doesn't like Bloodsport. One of the two.
Or just doesn't like Moxley. SmackDown is Friday night. Who gives a shit? And then WrestleMania Night 1 is Saturday, April 10th. Night 2 is Sunday, April 11th. And then is all wrestling all week long here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. The Podsmen and I will review both nights of Stand and Deliver and probably NXT UK Prelude in the noon time on April 12th. And then myself and Christian, because we can't not go a week and not do comics, we're going to finally do Jim Cornette Presents, what the fuck is this book called? Behind the Curtain. So that's a fun book. He's been advertising that for a while now. We'll talk about it in our usual source material spot. The next day, we'll get back together again early in the morning because I got to go to work in the mid-afternoon.
And we're going to review both nights of WrestleMania, and we might even talk a little bit about the Hall of Fame. Who knows? And then in the evening time, myself and Jesse Starcher are going to do a Damn You Hollywood for a movie that came out last year from WWE Studios. That's on Netflix, The Main Event. Pat Mullen and I, on Wednesday, April 14th, will be debuting a new show called The Mania of WrestleMania, and we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the very first WrestleMania show from 100 years ago. And then we finally end WrestleMania week with a doozy. Myself and Sean Comer will be doing an on trial for No Holds Barred, featuring Hulk Hogan and the late departed Tiny Lister Jr. as the best wrestler in the history of professional wrestling, Zeus.
Dr.
Fucking Zeus. Yeah, Dr. Zeus. That's right. So that's all the wrestling we got. And just when you think we're done with wrestling, no! Boom! Impact Rebellion, April 25th. And myself and Chris Bailey and Chris Sheehan, if he plays with us, probably not though, will review Impact Rebellion, Rich Swann versus Kenny Omega.
Rich Swann loses.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I spoiled it for you.
Yeah, I can't imagine a world where Kenny Omega loses that match, but I still want to see it, so there it is. All right, that's all the wrestling. Go ahead and do your plugs, and let's get out of here.
Okie dokie. You could find me at chrisandreggie.podbean.com, where I'm still doing X-Lapsed, up to just broke 150 episodes of that, so that's still a thing that's happening. Finally got back into writing actual text and picture-based blogs over at Chris's on Infinite Earths. They are X-Lapsed Origins, where I'm taking a look at seminal moments in X-Men history that are still relevant to this day, starting with a look into the early Captain Britain stories, which explore concepts like Otherworld, Saturnine, Merlin, the Furies, Mad Jim Jaspers, all the stuff that we just talked about during the X of Swords coverage, and given a little bit of context for where that all came from. So that's so far it's been daily. I can't promise that they'll be daily forever, but for the past week or so, every single day there's been an X-Lapsed Origins, taking a look at a 1981-1982 era Captain Britain story. Looking forward to doing more of those. Having a lot of fun getting back into blogging, despite the fact that Blogger sucks. Blogger had its iTunes looking upgrade, and it sucks. But hey, you take the good, you take the bad. You can also find me on Twitter at Ace Comics, and I think that's pretty much it for now.
Yeah, he'll be back. He'll actually be back next week to do a source material with me, but this time it'll be a Pacific Rim book, Tales from Year Zero. So that'll be fun. It'll be good to have you back on source material. Hey, before we go, I just want to remind everybody to use our link, getamazonmusic.com/W2M Network, getamazonmusic.com/W2M Network to get a free 30 days of Amazon Music, and you can check out Alexa Bliss's new theme. You can check out The Fiend's theme with code Orange. You can check out all the WWE music. Raquel Gonzalez, who's finally, moving on from being just Dakota Kai's heavy to being her own thing. She's got her own theme now. That's like the newest one that got released on there when I was doing a quick search. So if you're into these wrestling themes and music and whatever music they're going to latch on to WrestleMania, and you want to check it out and you want to listen to it, go use Amazon Music, get your free 30 days, check it out, have fun with that. For the Podsmen, I'm Mark Radledge. Thanks for listening to us talk at length about WWE Fastlane and the Cock. Be well, be safe, and behave.